Hey everyone, welcome back. This is another anime review. Another one that ended today, actually. Well, technically yesterday. This is 2:35 a.m. on the 30th, but it ended on the 29th of the month. Oh boy. And this anime, as soon as I can find the page here, is Brynhilder in the Darkness, also known as Goku Koku no Brynhilder. Which literally means Extreme Black Brynhilder. So, yeah, Brynhilder in the Darkness, based off a manga series which is still ongoing. Directed by Kenichi Imaizumi and written by Kukinori Kitajima, and the music's by Nao Tokisawa, and it's by Studio Arms, which previously had been known for Elfen Lied, Iki Tosin, Queen's Blade, and Full On Hentai. Yeah. It originally ran from April 6, 2014 to June 29, 2014 with a total of 13 episodes and a couple of OVAs coming in the future. The first one's in like September, I think. Okay. So what I think of this series. First off, this series I think was the best series Arms has ever produced. I'm not kidding. I really loved it. Now, the ending, however, was very rushed, which I will get into later on. But overall, though, I really enjoyed this series. Brynhilder in the Darkness revolves around a high school boy named Ryota Murakami, who cannot forget his female childhood friend whom he let die in an accident, basically falling from a cliff. Feeling that he must fulfill their promise of proving the existence of aliens, he has continuously looked up at the starry sky as a member of the astronomy club. The only member of the astronomy club left, by the way. One day, a girl named Kuroha Neko, who looks exactly like his childhood friend, Kuroneko, appears as a transfer student. She displays supernatural strength when saving Ryota from a foreseen accident. It turns out that Neko is a magic user, also known as a witch, that has run away from an alien research lab. From then on, Ryota supports these magic users, hoping to live normal lives regardless of being pursued. So, yeah, and that's the basic premise of this series, and it's awesome. So, aside from Neko, there's also, in terms of other magic users, there's Kana, Kazumi, Kotori, and Hatsuna. As well as for a villain, there's for villains there's they call her Valkyria, but I forget what her actual name is. She's the main villain, or the main villainess, basically. But anyways, though, the plot of this series is actually quite simple, but it really goes really deep into these witches later on, and actually it's very dark, especially when you find out the truth about them. Basically, each one has this harness on the back, and on the back of their neck, and if the witches get out of line, that button can be pressed, and they'll basically just dissolve into a puddle of mush, essentially, and die. Very painfully, mind you. And if they use their powers too much, they'll actually get hung up, which means that a different button on there will actually press, and they won't be able to use their powers for a certain amount of time. And Murakami ends up obtaining a harem, basically. Yeah, now, there's a lot of characters in this series that I actually really enjoyed. Murakami, I think, is one of the probably the most surprising, because in a series like this, you'll usually find that the main character is boring as a sack of hammers, and as shallow as a piss puddle. But Murakami is different. He actually does have depth, and he's a very likable character, especially since that he's helping out these witches. Now, at first glance, you might say, well, he's helping out Kuroha probably because he thinks that she's his childhood friend, which at the end of the series you find out is in fact true, even though it's been sending it back and forth throughout the course of the series. But the thing is, he also helps out the other witches, Kana, Kazumi, and Kotori, and Hatsuna. Okay, which is just proof that he really does want to help these witches get through it. Even so much as enlisting the help of a scientist that he knows. I forget his name. Huh. Oh yeah, he's actually Ryota's uncle, Hashiratani. Hashiratani is his name. Kogoro Hashiratani. So yeah, who is very hesitant at first, but eventually ends up believing this story about the witches and whatnot. Now, the whole reason he went to his uncle to begin with is because these witches basically need to take these pills in order to live, or else they'll end up dying. Basically, because they're malfunctions essentially. And if they don't take them after a certain amount of time, they'll die, and all the pills are at the lab. During one break-in, they did manage to save or get some pills, and Murakami wanted to see if his uncle could actually duplicate the pills, which he could, but it would take 6 months. Then later on, he managed to break it down to 2 months, but it still wouldn't have been long enough. And yeah, but still though, he was actually very willing to help out, and he was an interesting character in the series because I always assumed that he kind of knew more about this than he was letting on, because the main sort of villain, the one who was testing on all these witches, Chisato, apparently used to be a good friend of his, or at least a partner of his in science years ago. And the whole reason Chisato was doing this was to bring back to life his dead younger sister, who apparently currently is alive inside of Kotori. Okay, so the plot starts out extremely simple, but gets very interesting later on, with all these different plot twists and reveals and stuff to really keep you on the edge of your seat, and it does that very well. Okay. So, yeah, that's definitely something that I really like. Now, I do want to talk about Kazumi's character for a little bit, because I didn't hate her character. I actually kind of enjoyed her. She has my favorite power. Okay? But, seriously, why do people keep pairing her with fucking Murakami, okay? I want to let you know something, okay? No matter how much she says that she's in love with Murakami, she's not. You want to know why? Because you can't fall in love with someone who you just fucking met. As far as I see it, all she wanted to do was to fuck a guy that she just fucking met. Period. Let's move on from her, shall we? Again, I do like her character. She's really funny, and she has my favorite power, but still. Anyways, let's just move on from her, though. Now let's talk about that ending. It was very rushed, and from what I've heard from manga readers, they not only skipped a lot of stuff throughout the course of the series, including an entire fucking arc, but also really rushed that ending. Now, as an anime-only watcher, I could kind of tell that they rushed the ending, but I still love the series, okay? And if they make a season 2, I'll definitely watch it. However, I definitely want to read the manga from the beginning, because, I think they could have done so much better if it was paced better, okay? If this series was a 26-episode series, I thought that would have been perfect for this series, okay? They could have worked on the pacing a lot. They wouldn't have had to skip as much, if not anything, Or maybe, well, it's very rare when an anime gets 50 episodes right off the bat. But still, at least 26 episodes for first season. I thought that would have been great. Excuse me. But anyways, though, so there's major pacing issues throughout the course of the series, especially at the end. Okay. Those are really my biggest gripes with it. Now, the music was amazing in both the sentimental scenes, the extremely sad scenes, and the like action-packed scenes. All of the music's really good. Both of the endings are really good, and the first opening and both of the openings I really love. Like, I actually like the second one better, even though most people didn't. The first one seemed like some sort of dubstep, and the second one, I know it was some sort of Japanese screamo, but there were parts of it which made it sound kind of like it had dubstep mixed in with it. I don't know, maybe I'm just going crazy there. But yeah, I did really enjoy the art, even though it's nothing too groundbreaking. And the animation. Arms. This animation is far beyond anything I've ever fucking seen Arms do. Period. And I mean, it's not the greatest animation ever. But for Arms, this is incredible. Considering that it's Arms, okay? Like, I really enjoyed the animation in this series. I really did. So overall, I think I'm going to just about wrap up my review of this series. I love this series. I really did. And like I said before, if there's a season 2 in the future, I'll definitely watch it. But I think they should have really worked on a lot of the pacing issues. You know, and also the character department as well. Because really, Kuroha really didn't get as much screen time as she should have. And she's supposed to be the female lead. But she didn't get nearly as much screen time as she should have. Okay, and it was really disappointing. Not to mention, there's so many like conveniences in this series, which some of them I guess could probably be accustomed to the pacing, like this organization at the end. Who was this organization? You know, I've heard that they were elaborated on a lot more in the manga, but also a lot of conveniences at the end, which just accustoms to the rushed ending. But despite all that, I did definitely enjoy the series, and I do recommend it. Okay. So anyways, overall, hope you enjoyed this review, guys. These after guys, thanks for watching. Bye bye.